Okay, good afternoon, everybody. The City Council, Calexico Community Redevelopment Agency, Successor Agency, Calexico Financing Authority, regular meeting. Will begin. It's 6:43. City Attorney, please, the issues in closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council met in closed session and discussed items B, C, D, and one case under item E. Direction was given, no reportable action was taken. Item A and one case under item E were removed from the closed session agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk Rudy Cordova, please note that all 5 council members are present. And also, if you could please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as is?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilman Moreno, second by Councilman Hodge. Please press the button to display your vote. Okay, unanimous, 5-0. To begin the sessions, we have some presentations. First one by the Historical Commission. Who is here in behalf of the Historical Commission?
Mayor, I believe that the Historical Commission was not going to be able to make it tonight, and neither was the Library Board.
Neither the Library Board?
That's correct.
Okay, then we go to C, presentation on the Adopt the Park program by Public Works staff. Next set of meeting.
Good afternoon, council members, public. The Adopt program has a mission statement of, together we pledge to provide effective, efficient services in a courteous and respectful manner to improve the quality of life for all that reside in or visit the unique border community. Now, about the program. The Adopt a Green Area is a program designed to promote community pride, involvement, in maintaining and enhancing our facilities for all to enjoy. In coordination with Public Works Department, individuals, families, civic, and business organizations can take an active role excuse me, and hands-on approach in various levels of maintenance of our green areas, parks, and facilities. State sites approved for adoption as determined by the city. And the participants contain people from the public and volunteers. They hire their contractors to do various work on the parks and basins, and the participants may include one of the following or a combination of: individuals and families must be at least 12 years age, civil, social, sports, school or nonprofit organizations, businesses or contractors, government agencies. And some of the participation activities are removal of litter, planting or establishing seedlings, trees, shrubs, or flowers, graffiti abatement, painting, watering, weed control. The participants' commitment, once they commit to this Adopt a Green program, is to carefully read all the and sign all the necessary documentation, which includes minimum requirements to perform at least one activity per month. Contract term is for 2 years typically, transferable and renewable at the end of each term if participants so desires. Notify the Public Works Department within 7 days prior to holding an activity. At all times, exercise safe working practices. In addition to that, we have them provide insurance, putting the city of Calexico as additional insured. Now, the City of Calexico has the right to cancel or temporarily suspend the contract at any time if participant is unable to meet the minimum requirements for or for any other due cause. and the City of Calexico does not provide insurance coverage for participants. Now, the city's commitment is to provide assistance to the participants in this program to achieve the goals they have set through their activities. They can loan safety gear, provide plastic trash bags, collection and disposal, assist in planting plants, plans and techniques, safety orientation, replacement of recognition, recognition sign at the adopted site. As the utmost important and the number one concern, safety measures are to be in place at all times. Representative of participating groups must attend a safety orientation meeting. All participants and/or volunteers must sign a City of Calexico's Release Hold Harmless Agreement not to sue form. Use common sense at all times. Notify General Services Department of any hazard you may have encountered. Avoid overexertion and drink plenty of fluids. The key steps are to contact the Public Works Department, complete the application, and submit it as soon as possible. Provide an activity plan and schedule. So the City of Calexico would like to thank you and any of you that would either join or are already participating in thinking of re-extending your program. And we have all sorts of forms for them to sign. There's instructions, there's a list of phone numbers, contact information that we need, and then we ask questions like volunteers for their own forces or contract forces, name, title, etc., so that we can contact somebody in case there's a problem. And there's, let's see, well, there's quite a bit of parks available. Now, the ones that, I'll just mention the ones that have not been adopted. Border Friendship Park, that's Teco Monroy. Rockwood Plaza Park. We have Rio Vista Park. Nosotros Park. Rodriguez Park. Heber Park. Cravat Park. Kennedy Gardens Green Area. Benagas Court at 100 Benagas. Victoria Park West Basin, Victoria Park North Basin, Villa de Oro Basin. And there's about 20 of them that have been adopted already with various expiration dates that are now becoming due, and we're already contacting those people to see if they're willing to participate or extend their participation. So that is the essence of your park program, Adopt a Green Area.
This is something that I had requested some time ago, and I do thank you for bringing it before the council and the public. To what you just said, I don't know why anybody would want to adopt a park with all the conditions you just mentioned. Now, to me, adopting a park is maybe some form of a commitment for the maintenance of the park. But you just mentioned insurance and volunteers. This is adopting a park. This is not putting a program on the park, a youth program. It seems like you mix two issues under one concept, from my perspective.
Yes.
I don't understand why adopting a park would require any kind of insurance. I would believe it would have some obligations to make sure that sub-maintenance is performed, is kept up. But volunteers and insurance, I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Have we looked at the Adopt a Highway concept that I guess the state of California does through the highways around the valley?
Can we discuss that after we discuss that?
Oh, I know, but I'm just if there is an alignment with our policy.
We haven't looked at what we actually did. This has been in place for quite a while, and so what we've done recently is we've taken this up to the Recreation Commission. they're actually looking at it more in-depth, and they're making recommendations as to what to change and actually add to the application and requirements for this.
Or to remove.
Well, true, but right now they're considering actually adding more verbiage to it. In spite of that, we still have a lot of people signing up and wanting to adopt. Just recently, about 2 weeks ago, we had 3 participants already adopt 3 parks.
But putting a program on the park itself, I understand the insurance, the volunteers, I understand all of that.
Okay?
But to adopt a park, to furnish information on volunteers and insurance, I just don't capture it.
Well, we've handed this over to the Recreation Commission, so it's somewhat out of my hands at this point.
All right,
But this has been in place for quite some time already.
Okay, I guess I'll approach the Recreation Commission on this issue. All right, then we'll just go to the next item, the presentation by Dana Daniels on animal control. Where'd she go?
Mayor, I have a question on the issue about the parks.
Yes.
Yes. These rules or regulation are being in the city for a long time, or you just either the city manager or next serving, you create those rules? I want to know since when the rules that or the regulation that you're talking about the parks. How long are those rules are being in the city of Calexico? That's my question.
Well, thank you for giving me credit for adding all those rules. I didn't do it. They were already in place before I got here.
Okay, but do you know since when?
About 5, 6 years ago.
About 6 years ago. Let me ask you one thing. Morris, do you know about those rules?
The rules?
Yes.
The one that adopted the field, right, and Phil was, is Chewy hitting us from the girls softball league, and he has insurance.
For the program,
For the program.
not for adopting the park.
For the maintenance of the park,
For the main?
yes. That's, I believe that's the issue
Well,
here.
okay, wait. Mr. Risen, can you please come up and talk? He just said something which is more of what I'm talking about.
Mayor, hold on. Here's the mayor.
We have our own insurance, or the girls, the Desert Sun Girls Softball League have their insurance.
Okay, but what about the maintenance of the park itself?
We're doing the maintenance. Chewy and his group clean the park every day. And they move it around. We got in some of those levelers, those sand, the fences that levels off the field and everything. So we're doing our own deal.
But the program itself is doing, okay, through that program, it's also taking care of the field, or
Yeah, we take care of the field. Like De La Rosa takes care of his field here on Heber Avenue.
who does?
De La Rosa, what's his first name?
Chris.
Chris. Everybody that adopts takes care of their own field.
And they provide insurance?
They have insurance. Yeah, they have insurance. Sure, they do. They have to have.
I don't understand why.
City property, I
Okay.
believe it's city property, someone gets hurt, the city is
No,
liable.
that part I do understand.
Oh.
And maybe that's where I need to review, or, yes, Mr. Gonzalez?
Oscar Gonzalez, 844 Encanto Terrace. You know, I adopted a program way back, I think it was October. In fact, Luis was the one that encouraged me, Mr. Castro. Nick Finley knows about it. At that time, I researched it. There was nothing in the books that had liability. And as a matter of fact, I'll challenge anybody, but it could be like the law. You're not supposed to honk. It's illegal. People honk. But if it is in the books, I never saw it because I researched it. And if it is a rule, I want to know what standard is it based on. I can see if you get hurt, whether you have insurance or not, the city will be sued regardless if I have insurance or don't have insurance. But it's a volunteer, you know, but it isn't. There was nothing in the books. And I would like to see somebody to show me that. Either Nick Servin or Morris Rison doesn't know what they're talking about because I researched it. There's nothing in the books.
Well, Mr. Gonzalez, this is why I asked for it, and that's why we're discussing
you.
it. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Anyway, I'll follow up with the Recreation Commission on this. It just seems like the conditions are too complex. It's unfair. It's too complex. Okay, Ms. Oh, yes, you want to add some more? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Reisman.
By the way, the next Recreation Commission is on the 11th.
11th?
11th, yes,
What time?
5:30.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
And one more thing before I close. This is actually modeled after some other adopt-a-park programs available throughout California.
The other thing that I picked up, and I don't understand why it's so complex, a 2-year agreement?
No, 2-year extension. It's 1-year commitment. Oh, no, contract is for 2 years, yes.
2 years. All right, thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Thank you, Mr.
He's
Servin.
doing it out of the goodness of his heart.
Thank you, Mr. Servin. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Okay, presentation by Diana Daniels, Animal Control.
As she comes up, is it working? Is it going to work? Okay. Okay, we do have some copies of her presentation in the back, if anybody would like to get them. Okay. All right, well, we made copies, and they're in the back if anybody would like.
May I have a copy, just so I can just go off it, because mine's a little different. Thank you, this is a revised one. I think it's supposed to just be a little bit.
He's an expert.
Yeah, I just, I know. If there's anything I can do, I would. Trust me, I would. Yay! Oh, you're amazing. Oh my God. I'm gonna give you a cup of coffee, or a candy bar or something.
Daniel, he's our man.
Yeah, if you can do it, no one can. Case of beer. I guess that'll do. Are we good? Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Diana. If you guys don't know me, then hello. Just want to give a little bit of an update of what's been going on at the shelter. I've been at the shelter now on and off. I've been trying to work with this project for about a year and a half, 2 years, and I just put a little presentation together. can go into the next one. Okay, there are some issues that I found. Like I said, I've been going there for a couple months and trying to volunteer, and with volunteering, I found some things that I would like to talk about. One thing that I did some research on, and if you can put one light on, that would be great. Thank you, that's perfect, thank you. Okay, that's perfect. I did some research, and I noticed that on April 25th, there was a State of the City address that mentioned my name. I can say that I'm proud of that, because actually my name's getting out there. I hope that it's out there more with the positive changes that are going to be made. But I noticed that one of the things that the chief of Calexico PD said, that he wants to convert the dog pound, quote unquote, to an animal shelter. He wants to provide the best care possible, modernization, better equipment, and better services for the shelter. My questions are, what exact changes are going to be made? And how will this increase the quality of life for the animals at the shelter? What is going to be so different? And what does that mean by going from a dog pound to going to an animal shelter? What is the biggest difference over there? That's what I'd like to know. And also, this animal shelter should not only be my concern, but our concern. Bottom line is, you know, I've been in Calexico for a couple years, and I just came across this as an accident. I'm sure it's been happening for a while, because there's been research on it saying that there's been a bunch of neglect. So the bottom line is this. I'm not looking to be appeased or to be praised or to be patted on the back. What I'm looking for is just for action and improvement. I'm looking for our elected officials to wake up and make this a priority. I want this shelter to be a priority, how pretty much everything is right now at City Council. We have all these people coming in and trying to make every single issue a priority. And you know what? I commend you for that. But this is also one of those issues. So please take this seriously. You can go ahead. Go ahead next. Next one. Next, please. Key points that I want to make. Back in June 13th of 2002, there was an article written by the Ivy Press about PETA coming to Calexico Animal Shelter and citing them. And it was because including animals left to suffer, untreated, dead animals left to rot in cages with live ones, and animals deprived of basic necessities like food and water. That was back in 2002. Fortunately, things have changed, so that's a great thing. Also in May, a PETA member shot a video footage of the shelter that showed a dilapidated collection of steel cages, automatic food dispensers at the facility that are broken, water buckets full of black, stagnant water, dead birds, and bags containing dead dogs and cats. That was a serious, serious problem. If you guys don't believe me, there's an article, and there's the website on it right there. I really urge you to go and do your own research. Next, please. I personally went to the shelter about 2 months ago or so, and I was told by one of the animal control officers that specifically me, I could not go in and look around. However, I asked the guy, I said, is it me or is it just anybody else? He said, you specifically. That's insulting to me. It's insulting that me being a resident of Calexico, I cannot enter a public shelter. It's a public facility. I should be able to visit the shelter during normal hours and not be excluded only because I spoke up about the issue. I feel like I would rather be keep me out than allow me to help and make a positive change. I feel like there's a see no evil, hear no evil. And that's what's wrong with the city. Speak up about it, please. Next. Next. What I learned from volunteering. There is a major tick issue. Major. Ticks are attacking the animals. To reduce the number of ticks hiding, keep grass mowed and plants nearly trimmed. I talked to one of the co-workers over there, and he said that at the old shelter on Pierce, they used to have an area where they would allow animals to go run around while they would clean the cages. So I asked for his opinion. I said, what would you think would be a good things to be done here? He said, personally, I believe that if we take all the shrubbery from the southwest corner up to the northeast corner, and we can just build a little chain link fence, it could be kind of used as that purpose. Speaking to another person, he said that maybe it would be very dusty and it would cause a lot of dust to come in. Well, I have a solution for that. I have guys who actually asked me to help out. They want to put a tarp, the same tarp that's on the roof right now at the shelter, put it along that chain fence link. And the facility, it needs to be sprayed more than once a month. Once a month is just not cutting it. Next, please. This is a picture of a dog's ear full of ticks. I actually saw this 2 weekends ago. I personally took the ticks out by hand myself. one by one, because it's not being sprayed more than once a month. There's a lot of shrubbery. Let's face it, it's by the New River. Come on. Next, please. And there's one actually up close and personal for you. Enjoy your dinner, guys. Next. Website. I know that Gabby worked so hard on creating the website. She did an amazing job, amazing. And I know that it was shut down because we're not allowed to adopt the animals anymore. But here's a solution. Why not put in big letters somewhere? Something like, hey, if you're interested in making an adoption, please contact Humane Society in El Centro. Plain and simple. That's all it takes. Next. It's under construction. I'm hoping it's under construction now, but it will be back up soon. Next, please. What are the pros of having a website? It brings awareness, helps reunite lost animals and their owners, provides important phone numbers, addresses, and driving directions to the shelter, and volunteer forms. Next. Fact. Last week, the shelter went from 1 volunteer, me, to 7. And today, it's up to 12. Just saying. Volunteer forms actually work. So if we get this website back up, I promise you it's going to increase. Next, please. There's a little picture. I thought it'd be nice. Go ahead. Future. What has been the goal set up by the police for the shelter for this upcoming year? I'd like to know the answer for that. I know the fiscal year is coming up, or actually it's now, I believe. I was told it was happening in July. I just want to know what changes are going to be made. I want to hear it in black and white. I really do. I don't want you to give me some picture and tell me, oh, it's going to be beautiful, it's going to be a castle. I don't want to hear that. I want you to tell me the truth. Plain and simple, black and white. How much of the funds have been allocated for these goals? Provide a tax ID number for businesses to possibly make donations. This was asked multiple of times. I got together with the lieutenant about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and he said, you know what, Diana, we do have a few tax ID numbers. I'll see if I can get you one. I said, if you get me a tax ID number, I promise you, I will go to businesses myself. I will tell them, hey, please make a donation. When they do so, and if they do so, I will give them tax ID. I'm willing to go and get rejected and get shut down if this will help the animal shelter. All I want is just a tax ID number. And everyone keeps telling me, start like a nonprofit organization. I'm sorry, but right now, on top of my career, to devote 60 hours to that, I need some help. All I'm asking for is just a tax ID number. That's all that I need. And of course, in the future, I would love to see 5K run to support the shelter. As always, more money makes a better shelter. Next, please. That was for your amusement. Okay, next. Okay, next steps to take. Apply for grants. Build a roof to protect from heat in the summer and cold in the winter. Make the shelter more part of the community. Spread the word. Educate Calexico citizens. More volunteer. It's so simple, but it's still so hard. I just don't understand it. Apply for grants. I know there's so many things in the city that actually Calexico Police Department apply for grants, and they got it. Example, vehicles. Next, please. Next. Great news. I'm working with a bunch of guys right now who want to help and volunteer, and these guys can actually make a huge difference in the city if you guys allow me to do it. Next. Okay, one of the volunteers is a canine handler who is trained on how to handle canines. He and other handlers would like to volunteer their time to basically clean out the kennels with safe product, inspect kennels for fencing with sharp edges or metal poking out of it and fix it, spray pesticides around the perimeter to minimize the ants, fleas, and ticks, and basic first aid help. That is very, very important, last part, because last week I came across a pit bull at the shelter whose ears were cropped. However, whoever had the pit bull before had never fixed the issue. His ears are actually infected now. And this guy told me, you know what, Diana, I can help this dog out. Ask city council if they will let me take him, and if they cannot provide any assistance for him, I will pay out of my pocket and do it myself. If they let me take this dog for a couple of days, I'll take him to the vet myself. And these are trained handlers who attend a canine academy where they learn first responder that is geared towards canines who suffer from common hazards and injuries. All I'm asking for is that you allow me to take these guys in who are trained professionals and who can help out. Next, please. Next. I met a groomer today. Her name is Vanessa. She said, Diana, I want to help. I want to volunteer. What can I do? I said, you know what? I'm glad you asked me that question. I said, we have a lot of dogs who have ticks. If you can volunteer possibly one a weekend or maybe one day a week, one day a month, and just come over there and maybe just come over there, you bathe some of the dogs, cut some of the hair, it would help out a lot. Because honestly, bathing is not enough for some of these dogs. These dogs are so infected with ticks that I think the only solution is just getting them a haircut. And she's available on those dates, and she said it would be either every other Monday or first Saturday of every month. She wanted me to ask your permission if these were okay with you, and what would you prefer? Next, please. And here's her card. Next. Here's a flyer, which I obviously can't see that well, but if you're interested in that, I can definitely email it off to you. Next, please. Next. Question, can we make the shelter a priority and get funding? Go ahead. And this is actually a picture of the actual pit bulls at the shelter currently. Go ahead. And of course, adopt me, as always. That's definitely the answer to everything. And I believe that includes my presentation. Any questions, comments, concerns, jokes? Go ahead, Mr. Roll.
May I call you Diana?
Absolutely, sir.
Diana, I want to thank you so much for caring so much. And you are right and we are in the wrong. What we need to do is get our butts off and help you. So I would like to strongly recommend, unless you got some better ideas, it's just an idea that we form a subcommittee on an animal shelter. And that would include myself and maybe another councilman and other people involved.
I would love
The
that.
thing is, we need to get the city to authorize you to be able to have, in the appropriate way, the powers to go in there and take care of it. But with this subcommittee, you already have laid out a tremendous amount of work here. We could create something what we call an action plan, where there are goals and timelines, and we would work together. I would like to see that happen. What do you say, Diana?
I appreciate that. You just tell me when and where, and I will be there. And if you tell me tomorrow, I'll be there tomorrow. If you tell me next day, I'll be there.
Okay, Mr. City Manager, we need to make sure she's not, if it's true, she's not given the shoulder, cold shoulder when she goes in there. She's a very concerned citizen that's trying to do something.
Well, you know what also I want to mention is that I talked to Lieutenant Gerardo, and he mentioned something about, I said, how come when when we had the website, it was only updated once every 6 weeks? And he said, you know what, Diana, we don't have a camera. I said, you don't have a camera? I'll make a donation right now. Here, I'm donating a camera with a wire that you can go take pictures. He said, you know what, I don't have a laptop. You know what, I have a laptop. Let me make a donation. Well, we have no service, internet service. You want me to pay for that too? Is that what you want me to do? Because honestly, I'll raise the money, I'll do it myself. You tell me what to do and I will do it. It's that simple. I just don't understand what such a big difference. It's just, it boggles my mind. I just don't understand how. I mean, honestly, I've been volunteering for a couple of weeks, and last week we had 7 volunteers at the shelter, and these people were so excited and so eager to do this. I personally went to Walmart. I personally spent my own money. I bought shampoo. I bought ear cleaner. I washed all those dogs myself, okay? And I got help from a few of the canine handlers. I cleaned their ears. I took the ticks out one by one by hand. I did it. And why? Because I care.
Mr. Mayor,
It's that simple. Just
Go ahead, Ms. Murray.
tell me where to meet you, and I'll meet you halfway.
I applaud your efforts, Ms. Daniels. I think you're doing a wonderful job. I think
Thank
you've
you.
brought a great awareness to something that needs to be brought to the forefront. And I agree with Mr. Hodge on working together with a
The
subcommittee.
city sanctions a subcommittee.
However, I need to ask our city manager, do we have staff out there? And if we have staff out there, what the hell are they doing?
You know what? I must be honest with you. Cesar, who's been absolutely amazing. Cesar, he's been helping me like crazy. He's very kind. He's great, and he's very. He's just a very nice person, And he always, he always answers my phone calls whenever I call and bug him, and he calls me back. So I really enjoy working with him, and I hope that he stays on board. I hope we can hire more people like him. He's amazing. He's great.
But why have we let this thing get to the point where it is right now? I mean, it
no
seems to
awareness.
me,
No awareness.
it seems to me that, you know, someone's not taking care of it. I mean, what she has pointed out and the things that she's seen.
There have been changes made since I've been here a few months ago. You know, I spoke to Nick Servina, and and his staff has made amazing changes. Of course, there's a lot more to do, and I want to see this place be even better. I mean, honestly, whole point is that in 2002, you know what, they got fined, and now 10 years later, it's not the same, but I'm afraid it's going to get there again, and I don't want it to get there. And this is why I'm fighting for this as much as, I keep telling you guys every single meeting, use me, call me, tell me what to do. I'll do it. I'll come here. I'll do that. I'll spend extra hours. Just include me in it. That's all I want to do. I don't want to get paid for this. I just want to do it because I want to see a change in the city. That's all I want to do. And here's my first donation, a camera. Who wants this?
Okay, before we, Ms. Daniels, thank you very much.
I'll take it and pass it on to, the
City
animal staff,
manager,
and if they don't take pictures, I expect a better one in return. Just
Okay.
kidding.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels, for your presentation. This is a presentation, and it wasn't something for continued dialogue.
No, I understand.
And Councilman Hodge would like to be one member of that subcommittee. I don't know if any other council member wishes to be part of that subcommittee.
I'll work with Mr. Hodge. We're working on a lot of things together, so.
Okay, then there you have that
Thank
subcommittee.
you. Just an
And,
FYI, this Saturday I'll be at the shelter again if you anyone want to come volunteer and help out.
Right, they'll get together and try to put together a meeting with all the parties that need be, and they'll contact you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for your
Ms.
time.
Daniels.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to announcements, public comments. Public comments are welcome. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. I will ask Mr. Moreno to please keep a tab on it. Please complete a speaker form prior to the start of the meeting. If the item you wish to comment on is in a closed session item, please comment now. If the item you wish to comment on is in the public portion of the agenda, we will take your comment when we get to the item on the agenda. Mr. Gonzalez, since you're so near to the podium, please feel free to be the first.
Thank you. You're being so kind and nice to me ever since I got arrested. I want to thank you, Lord, for Mr. Romero. Thank you, Lord, for Mr. Moreno. Thank you, Lord, for all the city council. Thank you, Lord, for the administration. Thank you, Lord, for the staff. Thank you, Lord, for city government, because it functions. It doesn't matter. I was going to say I don't give a rat something. But it doesn't matter. Calexico was adopted or became a city in 1908, and it didn't matter whether the gringos ran it, the Mexicans or Chicanos came in 1960, political revolution. The thing is that it's tantamount to animal farms. Remember animal farms? All pigs are equal. Second time, some animals are equal only. And that can and cannot happen in city government. But I thank God. Thank you, Lord, for that. And thank you for my family, my wife, my beautiful children, my friends, and also my enemies in the audience. Thank you, Lord. They make me great. Thank you, Lord, for my enemies especially. Nobody's insurmountable. Judy Hashem left, now we blame somebody. She's not here, it's her fault. Thank you, Lord, for that. Thank you for the city government. A city attorney makes $700,000, $800,000. I wish I were an attorney. Thank you, Lord, for you. Last week I met a gringo, and he said, "What are you?" I said, "I'm an American." "No, you're not." He said, "You're Mexican." I said, "Anybody from the Tierra del Fuego to the North Pole is an American." I'm an American just like anybody else. If you're born here, you're an American. Gringos think that because they're white, they're superior. We know different because a lot of Calexico residents, since day one, have succeeded beyond expectations. Raleigh, Carrillo, Ruben Carrillo, Luis Nogales, Denny Villanueva, Primo, you can go on and on and on, including Oscar Gonzalez. You know, nobody thought I'd get 2 masters, but I did. Never took college prep. Never. I took boneheaded English in Allen Hancock and I graduated. But anyway, what I want to say is that thank you, Lord, for letting Oscar be an American. Jackie Tapia told me the other day that a gringo asked him what he was. 3 minutes now. How much time do I have?
6 seconds.
Huh?
You got 10 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me, because it's a lecture. It's really a lecture. You're getting to know the real Oscar Gonzalez. I'm a nice guy. You know what? Thank you, Lord, for the 3 minutes. And thank you for another city council, Lord.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez. Next speaker for public comments, School Board Trustee June Kim.
My name is Jung Kim. I'm standing as one of the citizens in Calexico. I read on bad news on the IB Press. We lost $1.6 million, the grant, because we missed the deadline on our audit report. It's not because grant writing was something wrong, or we're not entitled to be received. That $1.6 million, it could be benefit a lot of our citizens, especially this time. And I found one of the FEMA grants I sent to the fire chief, to the staff. I hopefully he gets some help from there. And our city is lack of the budget, lack of the money, lack of the fund. And the more worst case is city hacked the meeting. They hacked the meeting 3:30, a special meeting. They approved interim budget. The city of Calexico, we don't have budget. Real budget never been presented. The budget has to be approved before the June 30th. And we don't do anything. And say the financial department had Judy Hashim retired, that's why I couldn't do it. They had enough time to do it. And I believe they have enough time to do audit too. And I believe they never started audit. This is our cities. And who's responsible? What is accountability? Accountability is whatever states is city managers responsible. But eventually, as a city council, to responsible to hold accountability on the staff, they're not doing their job.
Mr. Kim, you have 30 seconds.
I got 30 seconds?
You have 30 seconds.
Okay. Whatever budget is supposed to be approved, even the contingency plan. And if the city manager doesn't do their job, at least discipline something, cut the salaries. At least our city council duties do that. Our city council messing up their duty. That's why December one of the city's mine, voted by the community, supported by the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Okay, there are no more speaker forms for public comments. We'll go to general comments by council members. I'll start with Council Member Bill Hodge.
1 second. Caught me off guard. Just two reports I'm involved in. One is the Imperial County Transit Commission. And just to report out that the commission approved what they call an overall work program and budget for allocating of the funds for 2012-2013. The budget upcoming is, or the budget is balanced, and the overall work program proposes to implement and address vital transportation projects and programs of our region. There was a summary nicely written out as far as major programs and initiatives that the ICTC works on. One area, community outreach. They're going to enhance, or we are going to enhance our ICTC website. Also, other outreach activities for the Imperial Valley studies will include the Calexico border intermodular intermodule transit facility study. So that concerns us here.
Intermodal.
Yeah, I didn't think that was that. Other areas of the regional transportation planning and program management, dealing with capital projects, and I'm only focusing on Calexico. ICTC is going to work on the Phase 1 construction and expansion of the Calexico West Port of Entry, proposed expansion of the Calexico East Port of Entry. So those things are still being looked at and worked on. So good for the ICTC. The New River Committee. Mr. Miguel Figueroa, the Executive Director, is very busy now that we have the New River strategic plan adopted. He's doing outreach into the communities, spreading the good word about this plan. And he does plan on visiting us here at City Council and telling us what the next steps will be on the New River strategic plan. So I'm done with those two items, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman John Moreno, please.
Thank you. I want to wish everyone a happy Independence Day tomorrow. Make sure that you have a safe and sane. Make sure you buy your fireworks in Calexico and use them here. Also, I want to say that I went to the Lava Lamps by the Chamber of Commerce annual dinner banquet. And congratulations to the winners of the Lava Lamps, Luis Gonzalez, also known as Chino, Congressman Filner, and Ms. Sylvia Lemos, who do outstanding work for the community and in the community. Also, congratulations to our Recreation Department, who's putting Measure H monies to work with the movies and the Fun Fridays. Thank you, Mrs. Toller, for doing all that. A lot of 300 kids going to the movies once a week, which is good. Also had the opportunity to go to a book signing. I guess it's one of the first in Calexico where a native, not a native son, but yeah, I could say a native son, had written a book, a bicultural book. His mother's American gringa and his father's a Chicano. You should read it, Mr. Gonzalez. It's called To Be Frank Diego. I can get you a copy. Okay, then you would probably like it. Anyway, so we had the opportunity to sign a book. He dedicates it to his grandparents, who are both Calexico pioneers. And a big congratulations to our Little League All-Stars, who got first place again, District 22, in the 9 and 10-year-old division. I was there last night, and I saw a lot of happy kids and parents, and I want to say that I saw a city manager in the center field bleachers as well. Was that you, Oscar? That was me. Well, thank you. Maybe we get a rope for the American flag to hoist it up there. I know that's one of the things that we've been working on. But a lot of good things happening in the summertime, and hopefully more good things continue to happen. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Moreno. Councilman Castro.
No comments at this time.
Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado.
I'd just like to add, I don't believe that you mentioned this, John, but I know that we had Family Fun Friday, Sandra, and that was a very successful event. I think you had over 400 participants? Wow, that's a lot, almost 500. That was great. I know that was the same night of the Lava Lamps, but next time I'd definitely be there with you. And another thing I'd like to add is happy birthday to Hildy Carrillo, our Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce. Her birthday's coming up on July the 5th. and also everybody have a safe holiday, and definitely go out there and support our organizations selling our fireworks. That's it.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado. For your information, I attended the monthly SANDAC Committee on Border Issues meeting in San Diego, Friday, June 22nd. Supervisor District 1, John Renison, and yours truly, as alternate, were present for the meeting. Discussions focused on improving the infrastructure for an easier flow and movement of cargo between the border cities and the region. Doing so will not only help the trade industry, but also the regular movement of cars, since the carriers could drive on specified routes. Friday, June 29th, as mentioned by Councilman Moreno regarding the Calexico Chamber of Commerce, its annual membership reception and lava lamp award ceremony. As always, it was a success spearheaded by Executive Director Hildy Carrillo. Chamber also announced its president for the next fiscal year. Congratulations to Carlton Hargrave. He's not here present. Chamber President Hargrave and Executive Director Carrillo, as well as the rest of the Executive Committee and Chamber Directors, know that the City of Calexico will support the Chamber and contribute every way it can in order for the public to maximize the enjoyment of the events under these trying times. Also hope each of you has a safe and sound 4th of July with your family and friends. Chamber and City is not putting together an event this year, but rest assured that it will be in discussion for July 2013. Okay, we go to the consent calendar, and before we open it, there's Mr. Gonzalez. You have a comment on item number 13. Please do so now.
No, you know what, I want to hear what you guys have to say.
I will not be calling on you once I bring it to the council.
I don't have any comments.
Okay. There was, let me see here.
I'll bring it up next week.
Okay, Mr. Eduardo Lopez, items 10 and 11.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, Eduardo Lopez, 1167 Obeliscos. I come before you tonight because I'm very concerned with the level of service that has been provided by Advanced Services in the past, and in the future if you award these contracts to them. I'm sure you observed the poor condition of our parks, parking lots, green areas during the past few years. Our parks are in need of a lot of attention, from seeding, trimming of trees, shrubs, fertilizing. Even our city hall is in need of attention. There are several patches of dirt right in front of our city hall. This is a direct reflection of our city. Advanced Services has had the contract for several years now, and things seem to be getting worse. If not for people like Mrs. Estrada and Mr. Risen, who has stepped up to the plate and improved some of our parks, things would be much worse. Every morning when I park in the parking lot at First and Hebert, I am disappointed by the total lack of pride this company has in its work, by the condition of so-called landscaping in this and other parking lots in our downtown. I'm sure you guys have seen our condition of our planters in our parking lots. I'm also concerned that the current request for bid does not include the washing of our downtown alleys, since this has been a huge area of concern. Furthermore, I feel that this should actually be one bid for the entire job, because some of the work is actually overlapping. You have people working at the parks doing the restrooms, and then you have people doing the landscaping in downtown. It should be, in my opinion, all one contract, just so you have one person responsible for everything. I also understand the landscaper is not responsible for watering. I believe that's very important, because this will make the company responsible for our areas that are dry and need more attention. If he just goes and mows the lawn and moves on, he has no idea the sprinklers are working. He has no idea, he should notice if a part of the grass is completely dry or dead, or if, he should be noticing these things, but obviously it's not being done and hasn't been done in the past. So tonight I'm requesting that you turn down these bids, have one bid for the entire project with a more detailed responsibility for the contractors. Also contact more companies, see if we can get more participation for this bid. And basically all I have to say. If you guys have any comments or questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you. No, Mr. Gonzalez, you did not submit a sheet. Thank you very much. Please have a seat.
Well, he just said, I need to speak.
No,
and-
he pulled items, he submitted a speaker form for those two particular items. You did not. And we're in a consent
Okay,
calendar.
what item
I'm-
on the agenda?
It's on the consent calendar, and that's where we're gonna
No,
go.
wait a minute, what item?
I'm
sir?
not gonna continue with you, Mr.
No,
Gonzalez.
I'm asking you a question.
I'm not gonna answer you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Mr., what item?
Right now, what you're requesting
You're
that it be.
unfair, Mayor.
I may be. Thank you, Mr.
You
Gonzalez.
are. And discriminatory.
And discriminatory, okay, Mr. Gonzalez. Where's your, I've asked you before, and I'll say it this time. You know you're here under conditions. You don't want me to ask.
I'm not on any conditions. Don't put words in the thing about.
So if I ask for you to be escorted out,
You do what you like. If you think I'm misbehaving, I just want to be able to say freedom of speech, that's all.
you just said it's freedom of speech. You have freedom of speech with the press. You can talk outside all you want. We're gonna go with the decorum. We're going with the decorum of the council meeting. Thank you. Mr. Lopez, you're interrupting the meeting, Mr. Gonzalez. I wish to proceed. Now, what are your other concerns besides the lawns and whatever else that you mentioned?
Well, the general condition of all our parks, all the maintenance of the planters in our downtown, the parks in general, the restrooms in general. If you go into our restrooms, it says that toilet paper should be supplied every day. You go into these restrooms, and there is no toilet paper in the restrooms. They say that it's been stolen. I don't know what happens to it, but it's whenever not that I frequent the restrooms frequently, but I do go and stop by as a concerned citizen and check the conditions of the restrooms. I'm constantly checking the conditions of the planters, especially the planters in our parking lots where the trees are all dead. Nobody bothers to go, cut down a dying shrub or half the tree that's dead, and the grass is overgrown. And it's just the general poor condition of the maintenance being done right now.
Okay, now, you're referring to downtown.
Well, downtown and the parks themselves, both items 10 and 11.
Has there been any meetings between yourself, BID, and the city?
During the past 2 years, I have brought up the condition of the downtown parking lots numerous times at the bid, and I've asked Mr. Serene, Mr. Finley, and numerous staff, and they say they're doing what they can. Going back as far as Victor Carrillo, I've had discussions with Victor Carrillo about the conditions of these. And basically it's, somebody's going to take care of it, but it never seems to get done. And since right now we have the opportunity, since this is on the agenda, we're putting a contract out there. We want a company to come and take care of these problems for us. The company has currently been doing it. I'm not sure why it hasn't been done properly, if it's been a lack of communication between the city and themselves, or misunderstanding, or they just don't, my opinion is they don't have any pride in the work that they're doing. Because if I was doing that work, the maintenance of the parking lots, or the maintenance of the parks, I would be very embarrassed, to show that type of condition.
Mr. Mayor?
All right, yes, Mr. Moreno.
I understand that a week or two, maybe longer, Mr. Castro and Ms. Hurtado canvassed the community looking at the parks and their conditions.
That's correct.
And I feel that in their particular position, it would be prudent on our part to make sure that they take a look at this bid, maybe discuss it amongst themselves, discuss it with staff, and see how we can improve the parks, the areas of Mr. Lopez is talking about, and look at the water cycling, because I know that I spend time out at the Little League Park, and I know that I've seen what other cities are doing to their parks. I've been to El Centro and I've been to Brawley, to their Little League fields, and they're lush. There's no dust. It's manicured, and so I feel that if we have our council members participate in this, since they were interested in it at the beginning, not to say that we're not interested, but because of a subcommittee concept, that I think we should pull these items, take a look at them again, get input from Mr. Hurtado and Mr. Castro and Mr. Servin and possibly anyone else who's interested, and see how we can improve what needs to be improved before we take any action tonight.
I would appreciate that, Mr. Moreno.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lopez, if there's nothing else. Okay, I will mention that if you want to speak on an item regarding the consent calendar from the public, it has to be done before I open it up to the council. And once consent calendar opens up, I will not be accepting any more requests. Now we're going to go to the consent calendar to be discussed only amongst the council members. Is there any items you wish to pull?
10 and 11?
Okay, 10 and 11.
I'd like to pull item number 3 just for correction.
If there's nothing else, Mayor?
Hold on a second, hold on a second.
10 and 11, to pull for discuss, or just to pull
To discuss amongst ourselves.
Okay.
How about pulling number 6 for some clarification on
Number 6?
what that means? Yes.
I will pull item number 7. And I will pull item number 13.
7, 13.
Any other items? If not, is there a motion to approve 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, 12, and 14?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so moved by Councilman Moreno, second by Councilman Hodge. Please press the button to display your vote. Passes 5-0. Item number 3, Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado.
Yes, on item number 3, the third page, there's a correction to the name of Mr. Garza is not Mr. Garza, it's Mr. Mark Baza, and that's spelled B as in boy, A, Z as in zebra, A. And that's the only thing I've noticed in that, so.
You want a motion for its approval?
Motion for its approval?
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado, second by Mr. Moreno. Press the button to display your vote. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Item number 6, Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado.
Yes, Mr. Rodriguez, if you don't mind explaining a little about that, because I know that we had the election and these items were on there, but I think it's important to maybe give an explanation about what this means.
Well, what you're doing tonight is you're certifying the election results by the county. We had 2 propositions, if you recall. There was Measure P and Measure Q. Measure P was whether or not the city clerk's position should be an appointed position or an elected position, and Measure Q was whether or not the city treasurer's position should be an elected position or an appointed position. Tonight, you have the final results from the county, and Measure P passed by 1396 to 1267, and Measure Q passed by 1349 to 1298. What that means is now that the incumbents will go through the November election, and at that point in time, the council can appoint on these 2 positions. Between now and then, we will definitely be discussing as to what the procedure is going to be, whether or not the council will decide to appoint or allow the city manager to appoint, and whether or not we will obtain applications and put out the positions. So we still have some work to do, but I think tonight all you're doing is accepting the results that the county has provided to you, and then we will be discussing how we were going to move forward with the appointment on these 2 positions.
Thank you. Motion for its approval?
Second.
Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado, second by Councilman Moreno. Please press your button to display your vote. Passes 5-0. Item number 7, approval for City Council to go dark for the meeting of August 7th, 2012, as per past practice. City Manager Rodriguez, can you explain what this past practice is?
Well, past practice, what we do is we turn off the lights for the first meeting in August, and everybody goes home. No. What it means to go dark is that we obviously know that during the summer, a lot of people take off, and especially in August, and so it gives us a chance, when things are slow, for council members as well as staff to be able to take their vacation time for the year and also not have to worry about preparing, obviously, agenda items. Normally, it's pretty slow. If there is a need to have a special meeting for whatever reason, something comes up on an emergency basis, we certainly will call for an emergency meeting. But in the past, we've allowed that to happen the first meeting in August.
So that emergency meeting would just be simply a special meeting, not so much an emergency?
If we call a meeting, it'll be a special meeting. What we're doing is eliminating this meeting.
All right. Thank you for that clarification. A motion for its approval?
So move. Second?
Okay, please press your button to display your vote. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Item number 10, if you wish to combine it with item number 11, Mr. Moreno.
Yes, and hearing Mr. Lopez speak on these issues and looking at these contracts, I think a full evaluation of our parks and our facilities needs to happen. We need to make sure that there's water out there. We need to make sure sprinklers are working. We need to make sure that, as for parks are concerned, for facilities and restrooms in downtown, we also need to make sure that those areas are being addressed as well on a more regular basis, if you will. I know it's going to cost money, but I mean, we need to make our downtown and our parks more attractive. And I think that's in the best interest of the community, both in health and safety, but also making our town more aesthetically pleasing. So I would venture that maybe we could hold off on this. If his contract is up, maybe on a monthly basis, continue with the service until at that time we have come up with a plan involving Mr. Castro and Ms. Hurtado to take a look at an in-depth look at how we can improve both facilities and parks. I'm throwing that out there.
Okay, City Manager Rodriguez, there are two proposals being presented with item number 10 and number 11. Can you clarify if this is how it was done for the previous fiscal year, or was everything under one contract?
As far as I recall, there was two agreements, but I'm going to ask the Public Works Director to step up and clarify that.
Yes, there were two different contracts.
So the language in each agreement was only updated for the next fiscal year?
Essentially.
It was not analyzed, reviewed, evaluated.
No, it wasn't. We don't have much flexibility as far as our budget, since we're trying to stay with the same budget number.
Now, one of the things that Mr. Lopez mentioned during his 3 minutes is about the service of the water truck, watering the alleys. Is it still
It's out of commission.
the same status, is operational now?
No, it's still out of commission.
Out of
And
commission.
Caltrans has rendered it unusable right now.
There are no options to lease, rent, and not necessarily purchase a water truck to help with because take into consideration that the water truck is to help the stench in downtown, between the alleys.
Correct.
So there are no remedies right now.
The only remedy, as soon as I get full with personnel, is to use some of our equipment, which is the sprayer system. It's a pressurized system to go down certain alleys, because I think the problem areas are very focused. It's not all alleys, it's specific areas where there's a lot of thoroughfare from the port of entry. So that could probably be done fairly quickly, as soon as I have plenty of personnel. Last few weeks, I've been involved in a lot of emergency repair work on Spud Moreno and Imperial, and we still have some other emergency work to do. So I've been trying to do with whatever I can, being the time of year, the problems. We I think we saved potentially some lives, naturally some catastrophes. Had we let some of these go, we could have lost some vehicles right on 111 Imperial.
Well, at a prior council meeting, I had mentioned that if you take care of, if there's 3 items that need to be taken care of, trash, bathrooms, and debris, the debris and the water, not watering the alleys, if you take care of 1, 2, or 3 and not all 4, you're still going to have a problem.
Yes.
So we're not addressing all the issues. There are no other options that the city of Calexico has to at least address the remaining issue of watering the alleys?
Not any that I can think of.
So the orders will remain? The order from whatever activity goes on in the alleys?
Stench.
I was going to use stench. I used it earlier. I didn't want to use it again. Okay.
Mr.
now-
Mayor, we will look at the options, and we will bring them back to you. There are some options, we're all obviously within very tight budgets, but there are options. We'll have to check and see what the cost is. Obviously, you've mentioned a couple about possibly renting a truck, possibly using our existing equipment. We're short of staff. Maybe we'll have to contract some staff. So we'll look at those options, and we'll bring them back to you.
Well, yes, if you contract staff, then that will take care of one issue. But do you really want to contract staff? Because then you still don't have a truck. You may have to contract the services of the services available out there by somebody.
Obviously, the easiest thing is you would just contract it out for the whole year. But again, we're trying to live within our budget, so we could lease or rent a truck and contract employees to help us out with that. There are options available to us. Obviously, there's costs, and I know department heads are always looking at that because we're so tight on our budgets. But I think that if this is a priority, then we will provide for some options.
Okay, one of the options, which I had mentioned also in a prior council, is I do not understand, and help me understand, is why one of the 2 agreements, one of the 2 bid proposals cannot just focus on downtown. You have the, whatever the bid area covers. What is it, Imperial to Giles? Is that correct?
Imperial to...
Is it Giles or is
all the way
it?
up to 98, isn't it?
It's an L.
Yeah, it's an L. I think it
Well,
goes all the way to
anyway,
98 and then down in
The
the
area that covers
downtown.
besides Imperial Avenue. Why couldn't one bid be used just to cover the downtown? This way, when somebody sees that something's not right, then they know there's one person to call. And I understand we can call you, but you already have enough on your plate. There could be a number that a number can be called, so they can pinpoint the issue at the time. Again, in this proposal, I read that they would take care of bathrooms in downtown, but also take bathrooms across city.
Beyond, right.
So I just didn't see the practicality in this, and as it was mentioned by Mr. Moreno, as far as the way about contracting advanced service, I know that there was mention of discontent in their services, but for myself, I am okay, but I would like to see that it be directed towards a specific area. I don't know how much more expensive it will be or how less expensive, but at least to give the city hall, if it's going to be advanced service, and also this council options to make a decision on, not just give advanced service, this is what we want you to cover, and maybe they can turn around and say, you know what, maybe we can offer this if we focus in downtown, and then separate, and we can focus on the rest of the community. Mr. Acuna is here present, so I don't know if, and you don't need to come up, Mr. Acuna, I'm just acknowledged.
I would like to say a few things, but you had mentioned that time was up to...
Right, yeah, so what can you do if this thing is not, if this is tabled? Is that what you're asking? Yeah. If this is tabled by the council today?
What can I do? Well, we can take it back and sit down with Hurtado and Castro to see what their canvassing efforts generated and go with some recommendations. We can also bring in separately some of the proposers to find out what other ideas to share. I think if we have a few minds, few ideas to share, possibly we can mold something better. But right now, Mr. Acuna has extended his services because already we're on third and he is out of contract, but he is managing.
But as Mr. Moreno mentioned a little while ago,
Yes.
this can continue on a month-to-month basis.
That's what we're doing right now, yes,
And since when?
since June 1st,
Since June 1st?
or July 1st.
No, there was an extension back in October to April and then June. Okay. Okay, what is the consensus of this council?
May I?
Yes.
Mayor? Yes. Around 2 weeks ago, Marisa, or 3 weeks ago,
Probably 3.
me and you and Mr. Acuna went out to see all the problems, all the details regarding the downtown area and also the parks. And, you know, what I noticed, there is some, like on the area of the downtown area, the downtown that is on 3rd and from Pauline to, I believe, Blair, no, Pauline and Heber, there is some plants that are drying, are very dry. In that area is belong to the city. I mean, so not all the areas that Mr. Acuna, that he's working on it, not all those areas are belongs to him, to that contract. My point is the city of Calexico, the employees or the people who are in charge of those areas, they need to work on those areas. I mean, my point is, I think Mr. Acuna and the people who, the employees that are working with the city, they doing the best they can. But I want to clarify that not all the areas belongs to this contract. And I'm reading the contract that I received around 2 hours ago on the page 5. Yes, page 5 in letter F said repairs. The contract shall at this own expenses is required to repair and or to replace any sprinklers, valves, piping, or fixtures, including. And also in the other letter, in the same page, letter H, the contract should keep on file with the city and provide a telephone number that is accessible 24 hours a day so that the complaints and or requests can be addressed within 24 hours. My question is, City Manager, did you work on this contract, or who?
I did,
You did?
yes.
And did, don't you think it's enough, or don't you think there's some other thing we can add, or do you think with this contract we can do better?
Yes, I can.
That's my question.
I can answer that. What you are referring to there is in the course of his work, maintaining whatever he's maintaining, parts and what have you, if in the course of his work he damages some of those pieces of equipment, then he is inclined to repair those at his own expense. That's what that means. Now, getting back to things we can add, we can certainly add some more things, but it gets back to cart before the horse. So we need the money to be able to add more stuff, like to steam clean the downtown areas, to have a truck available so that we can clean down there. So everything has a cost. The downtown bathroom, it was suggested that we have somebody there full-time to monitor the patrons that use it. And of course, there's a cost for that.
On the downtown area, on the restroom, do you think you still need more attention to those bathrooms? Do you think?
Well, part of that is education, part of that is monitoring, and it's just the people, the influx, and the fact that it's somewhat isolated in the periphery of the city. People do their stuff, and I've seen some of the pictures. I've seen when the guy has actually gone there in the morning, at 5:30 in the morning, cleaning the bathrooms, and moments later, it's messed up, and it's not his fault.
And how many times that advanced service they working on
Every
those
morning.
areas?
Every morning.
Just in the morning?
That's how we have it in the
One time a
contract.
day? In the morning?
That's how we have it in the contract, yeah.
Well, I guess this is something what I mentioned a little while ago about giving the council options to evaluate as far as the cost factor. And I understand that the resources are minimal, if any, but at least to give the council options which would serve the community better. One thing is downtown and one is the rest of the city. Go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
I was just going to say that there are, after reviewing the different lists of the locations that are being taken care of by the service, and there's just these details and specific items that may need to be clarified right now that we're going to have that opportunity. Because, for example, the downtown planners that you were talking about, if you look at the list only says 2nd Street downtown planners, which in fact it should say all downtown planners. So I think it's great. It's a great idea right now to be able to sit down and really look at, first of all, whose responsibility is what. For example, like we were talking about the water, the one that goes to the alleys. If there's a way to maybe shift that responsibility over to this same company that's going to be working, taking care of everything else, maybe now's the time to take a look at that, instead of using the resources of the city as far as staff is concerned to contract it out and add it to this contract. So I agree fully to take it back, and that you and I then sit down with staff and take a closer look at what it is that we're doing, being that there is so many concerns and a need, of course, so that our areas are much better looking. Which at one point when we did originally that tour, one big it was just very easy to see was watering. But then the question is, the detail is, what type of system? Is there a calendar of every certain days that there's watering going on, given that we still have to cater to the client, which is the teams that are using the fields, but exactly how all of that works before we really sit down and make this decision, and maybe modify how this request is out there.
Let me just continue with Ms. Hurtado just said. On page 4 of the actual RFP, and I need the direction from council to let me know what latitude I have here. On section 6, special provisions, there's A, B, and C. Specifically B, where it says addition and deletions of parks, green areas, and facilities. Possibly what we can do specifically what you're asking for, Mayor, which is we can delete some of those areas that, like you're saying, let's concentrate on the downtown. By this paragraph, I believe, council, you interrupt me anytime, they can actually focus on the downtown area. Those trade-offs, according to this paragraph, we can possibly amend it with something else, because it allows you to do a little bit of horse trading. So we don't necessarily have to forego letting this contract be tabled or undecided. Yes.
Well, yes, Mr. Hodge. Just as a reminder to the council, there is a stipulation in this agreement that there is a 30-day notice if you wish to revoke the agreement, or cancel the agreement. So even if it's approved today, and if there's concern by the council and obviously by downtown that the services are not being kept up, it can always be brought to council and get it yes, Mr. Hunch.
Well, I agree with Councilman Moreno, we should hold off. I'd just like to make a general statement. It gets frustrating. We need to understand, and I think on this note, if we go back and reevaluate and plan, we can become more efficient. And I'm sure that if we have the will and the commitment, we can get these jobs done. I just get tired of when we have these obstacles that were so negative to begin with. I understand we're on a tight budget, but you know, we should set priorities. And I don't think it's a no-brainer. If we fix up downtown and make it attractive, it's a no-brainer. More people will come and we'll bring in more revenue. And to make the kind of excuses, and I understand our hands are tied, but I believe in coming together and in executing the will and the commitment, we can get these things done. Then we'll bring in more revenue, and we'll be better off. And along with that, it's our parks. I mean, we need to understand clearly what our priorities are and act on them.
And
that's all I want to say.
Mr. Mayor, just to add to this, I think we should also entertain the concept of looking at Measure H to fund some of these parks, because I think it was sold to the public to provide recreation, public safety, et cetera. So I think if we put that in there, then maybe we'll have a little more cash to do a little more things. So I think that would be, and more money may be offset to help out the bid area. So let's entertain that concept too.
All right.
They don't want to give it up.
We're going, okay, I think enough deliberation has been going on here. What is the consensus of the council? Mr. Moreno, you're the one that pulled items number 10 and 11.
I would rather table these two items, allow Mr. Acuña to continue working on a monthly basis until we have come to a plan to evaluate the whole situation, the facilities and the parks and the watering and everything that entails the use of these items. And to,
Excuse me to interrupt, because it's not fair. I don't mind going month to month. I'll take the deal, but the thing is, we need to improve the watering, and currently, I'm not responsible for that. And the new contract it is, but I'm not going to be awarded, which is fine.
no, that's not it. We're looking at trying to make a best plan or best practice on how we can improve the situation. In other words, I know that watering.
30 days, you're going to tell me, hey, it hasn't improved.
No. It's going to go out to request for proposal again once it's been reevaluated. I think.
So you're saying reject this bid?
Reject it, table it.
Because one of the things that, again, as Mr. Sedvin mentioned, is something that can be approved and then worked on item B, where it could be moved
Well,
around.
we have someone that's already doing it. I think they should continue to do it. If that calls to approve the bid, then we'll continue to do it until we need to look at the whole situation, like I said.
Well,
Because
again,
obviously what we have, there's a lot of complaints out there.
Right, and
And we need to
there's one.
address the complaints of the citizens.
I understand that. But one consideration could be that this be approved, and then you can tweak it afterwards. Item B, which Mr. Servin mentioned a while ago, gives you that flexibility. So, again, this is your motion, this is your request to pull the item. What is your?
May
The
I?
options are to pull it and table it,
May-
and continue as business as usual. Let me finish, Mr. Castro.
Okay.
And continue business as usual, or to reject the bid, or to accept the bid, and then have 30-day period to take a look and kind of switch things around. Is that something possible, Mr. Rodriguez?
Well, you have a couple options. You certainly can accept the proposal and then work under that section to modify it. That's available to you. You have a 30-day notice provision. You have, the other option is to reject and rebid. So those are your options. But I mean, in reference to going ahead, and if you wanted to approve the agreement and then modify the agreement, you have the ability under that section to do that.
But we're not going to have 30 days because August 7th is dark.
Well, you have as much time as you need to do that. There's no requirement unless you set a requirement.
If we were to rebid, what would we be looking for to accomplish by rebidding?
Get a full evaluation of the whole scope of the work.
We can still do that, John.
You think so?
Mr. Castro?
Mayor,
Okay,
may I?
yes, you may.
Yes, I make a motion to approve item 11 and 10 and 11. Why? Because we've been talking about this issue, parks, downtown areas, everything related to beautify the city. I'm talking about the green areas. Right now, most of the retention basins, parks are drying. And it says here in the contract very clearly, we can approve this contract. We can approve item 10 and 11, the contract to take care downtown, in the second contract to take care of the green areas. And I don't see why we, and also, it says here in the contract, if we are not agree on this contract, we have 30 days period to make any changes. It also says here in the contract that we can add more, how do you say, more options. And that's a good thing of this contract. That's the reason I make a motion to approve this item 10 and 11. That's my point of view. Because, I mean, we go back and forth for the same issues. We have this issue since long time ago. We need to move forward. I mean, that's my point.
And your point is well taken. Also take into consideration that for example, the businesses that are in the downtown area have their concerns. Maybe one of the things that can be done is to also to consider, Mr. Gonzalez, is maybe separate the two. 10 is covering downtown. 11 is covering the rest of the city of Calexico. Maybe consider even tabling 10 and approving number 11. And go forward.
10.
Tabling 10 and approving number 11.
Okay, 10 being
Both don't have to be joined. 10 includes downtown. No, I understand he did. I understand he did. Mr. Castro,
Yes, I understand, but
you want to go
why
forward with 10 and 11?
why we delaying this? That's
Well, you had your
there's
concerns a little while ago.
Yes, but yes. At the same time, but I think this contractor, they doing the right thing. That's my concern.
All right.
And
There's a motion. I don't think you made your motion, did you?
No, I haven't made a motion.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Castro to approve items number 10 and 11. Is there a second?
What was that again? The other option was to...
No, well, right now, there's a motion on the floor to approve 10 and 11. Is there a second? Since there's no second, is there an option to approve one or the other and table the other?
I move that we approve the 10.
Approve
Approve the 10?
No.
That's where the concerns are.
I'm sorry, the 11,
Okay, approve 11.
and get 10 out, and table it, I'm sorry.
That's downtown.
Okay, so let's go one by
Table
one,
it
just for the sake of the clarification of the record. You want a motion for item number 10 to be tabled?
Yes.
Mr. Moreno?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Mayor, may I?
Sí, ahorita. Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Moreno, second by Mr. Hodge. Yes, Mr. Castro.
To table item number 10 for the next council meeting?
Yeah, we can bring it back to the next council meeting as soon as they get together to review this thing.
You and I.
So anyway, there's a motion and a second for item number 10 to be tabled, maybe to the next council meeting. Have an opportunity to review this with Director Servin.
Subcommittee.
Please bless your,
For the opportunity for the subcommittee to review with Mr. Seguin?
yes,
And kind of work on it geographically,
correct.
I think so. Sorry.
Okay, it passes 5-0 to table item number 10. Mr. Risen, I'm sorry, I said earlier that I was not going to permit anybody to come after the consent calendar started. Item number 11, is there a motion to approve or not approve item number 11?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Moreno, second by Mr. Hodge. All those in favor say aye. I would say aye. Press the button to approve. Okay.
The other thing I'd like to add is that when we do meet the subcommittee with Mr. Servín, maybe invite a few of the members of the bid.
Yeah.
to
Yes,
work
that would be
together.
good. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that I thought was going to happen some time ago, and it did not. All right, next item on the consent calendar is item number 13, approval of resolution. Approval of resolution of the City Council of the City of Calexico authorizing the approval of the employment agreement between the city and John T. Quinn for the position of Finance Director. I was the one that pulled it. Mr. Quinn is not present, and I was not present when City Manager Oscar Rodriguez gave a briefing to the council at the prior meeting. I was not able to make that meeting. I would like to, and I will put it on record that at this time that if he was here, I would tell him that I was and am a strong supporter of former Finance Director Judy Hassan. The circumstances that prompted her to retire have nothing to do with what you will be facing. Speaking of, our Finance Department has faced 2 retirements in the prior 7 months that have combined several years of experience and their positions have not been filled. Obviously, first and foremost, you replacing her as Finance Director, and second, Ms. Mary Baker, and one of her responsibilities was as a grant coordinator. So getting up to speed is going to be a task in itself. Finance is understandably behind with its reporting, so I welcome you presenting to the City Manager in hiring accountants on a temporary basis to get caught up. This council has not received an updated report of the grants that have been approved, and if the departments are following up on the conditions of those grants with this grant coordinator. I will leave the motion and the second to the other council members. Our city received a notice that we will not fulfill our obligations with the city's audit for fiscal year 2010-2011. Another reason why I welcome you hiring accountants on a temporary basis is I look forward for you to present the complete audit report for 2011-2012 between October 31st and before December 31st. Good luck, Mr. Quinn, with the tasks that are before you. We all wish you success. Now, one of the things that I have here is, no, that's in another item. I'll leave that be. Anyhow.
Mr. Servín, can you check the air conditioner, please? Because it's okay.
Okay.
It's like a,
So anyway, I just wanted to make it known to Mr. Quinn on my position. I was not here, so I'll leave it up to the rest of the council to go ahead and motion and second for the approval of his appointment.
I'll second.
I have a motion.
You have the first.
Right.
A motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado, second by Councilman Moreno. Press a button to display your vote. We need a finance director. Okay. All right. Let's go to the general fund departments, business item, appointment of director and an alternate to the California Joint Powers Insurance Authority for fiscal year 2012-2013, and authorization to attend the annual meeting of the Board of Directors on July 18th, 2012 in La Palma, California. I had a previous discussion with City Manager Rodriguez, can you please elaborate on this?
These are the delegates to the annual meeting of the the California Joint Powers Authority. We participate in this group through our workman's compensation program and our general liability program. There are two major programs that we participate in. We're in a group of members, majority from the LA County, and so we pool our resources together to take care of these programs. And they're having their annual meeting, and it is important that we attend as they're selecting their new officers for the coming year. The delegate should be an elected official. The alternate can be an elected official, or it could be a staff member. So you have the authority to appoint those two members so that hopefully they can attend that meeting. It is an important meeting because we want to make sure that we participate in this organization, since we have two major programs that we participate in.
Okay, after some discussion with you, I'll just go ahead and appoint myself to attend this meeting. If I cannot, then I will ask the Mayor Pro Tem Maritza Hurtado to attend in my behalf. Business item, well, I guess I'll motion for its approval again.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
No.
Nope. Then please press the button to display your vote. Passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, status of city audit for June 30th. It's an information item. Any comments by the council? Number 16th, if I may, before council begins. Mr. Gonzalez, you had a speaker form, you're not present, so now I'll go to the council.
Yes. Yes. He's coming.
No, he's not coming.
No.
Nope. Okay, Councilman Hodge.
This is status of the audit. Because of no oversight, no accountability, no communication, the annual city audit did not meet the required deadline. Therefore, if I got my numbers right, a 1.6 grant for the city was rejected. That's a big loss. Dealing with the day-by-day city operations, this, if we may call it a debacle or a blunder, lays at the feet of the city manager, Oscar Rodriguez. But ultimately, the responsibility for the costly mishap is the present city council. Therefore, I want to sincerely apologize to the citizens of Calexico for this blunder, for me not knowing enough, not staying on top of this issue. Therefore, in order for this not to happen again, among many things that we can improve upon, what I need, what we all need for the future, on paper, on the website, is information that identifies important timelines. So this is my future agenda, one of them. Identifies important timelines, important deadlines in regards to important budget, audit, and ongoing grant procedures or processes. For instance, with the budget, timelines and deadlines, so I may learn, I can see it, I can study it ahead of time, on estimated actuals, on actual audit reports and interim reports and so forth. And of course, timelines and deadlines on the annual audit reports. You see, if I would have been better aware, had I had that information in my possession, I would have, ahead of time, firmly reminded City Manager Oscar Rodriguez of the audit deadline. He, in return, would have put pressure on the departments to meet the deadlines, and this costly mishap could have been avoided. We, in our city government, needs better communication, performance measurements, and accountability. The citizens of Calexico deserve better, and I sincerely apologize on my behalf. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman Hodge. Mr. Gonzalez, you stepped out when we started this item. I will permit you to go ahead and say something on it, but just for the record, for the future, if we're on an item, I've said before, once the council starts discussing it, then I will not invite anyone to come in forward, so.
I understand that, and you told that to Mr. Rice, and I'm glad you told it.
so-
Thank you. Are we on 16?
We're on 16, we had already started, but I'm going to permit you.
I went to the bathroom.
No, I understand that, but understand that if it happens again.
No report.
When you're stepping out and we started, I'm not going to call on you, so please go ahead and go forward.
Oscar Gonzalez, citizens, ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Hurtado, and everybody else. I think, Mr. Hodge, I didn't hear what Mr. Moreno or Mr.
We haven't said
Oh, you
anything.
guys haven't articulated anything?
Only Mr. Hodge.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly, but I hope he makes a motion and don't put it off. You can make a motion tonight to set timetables. And you eloquently or emphatically stated that it's ultimately the responsibility of the city council, but by the same token, I think you have to put the blame where it belongs, and I'll let you interpret that. I think there's no excuse. 1.9 million is a lot of money. You could have bought a lot of beans and bananas with that. But I think this is not the first time, ladies and gentlemen. I think when Mr. Castro, it is 27 points way back when you guys censored him. He highlighted that. He's been highlighting that we have this and that, but it seems that the council is divisive because some of you don't want problems and you want to say, nothing's happening, Calexico's this and Calexico. On the other side, it has another story. Mr. Hodge, Mr. Castro have been critical, but I don't think you have to wait, Mr. Hodge, because you said that the last time too. I remember I was here when you said the same thing about timelines. Make a motion. And something you guys have to do, but it's a lot of money. Taxpayers' money that went back. When Mr. Estrada was here, you weren't here, Mr. Hodge, we returned over $2 million streets. People couldn't fill out the applications. I think maybe Mr. Rodriguez doesn't have the time, but he's confident that he could do it, but I think he needs staff. You need to hire a grantsman that does that. Measure age. You got the money. You got the money to supplement also advanced service. What Mr. Lopez was talking about are duties and responsibility that advanced service is not required by the agreement. He didn't get paid for 5 months from November. Why? I don't know who's responsible. Maybe it was the city council. But you have the duty and responsibility. There's no excuse, Mr. Hodge. Take the bull by the horns. A leader is a leader. You were selected to be a public servant, to lead. And don't apologize. Take the bull by the horns and make a motion. To avert, this is not the first time. It's happened even when other city managers. I've been here 37 years. It's happened many times. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Mr. Moreno.
Yes, I too am very disappointed by the situation that had happened, and it falls on the heads of the city manager, and hopefully with this updated report he can explain how in the future things of this nature will not continue. Mr. Hodge made some good points as far as timelines, and I agree with him. And I agree that all this has to be out in the open on a board there. Said we've got these items that need to meet these certain timelines, and we've got to stay on top of it. And if it's a situation that cannot happen again. So I would like to see, perhaps hear an explanation from our city manager and see how we could remedy this problem.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Mr. Castro.
Yes. Well, we've been talking about these issues. The administration from the city of Calexico is been failing and failing their works. I've been here for 4 years, almost 4 years, and we are talking the same issues. We are losing grants. Why? Because there is a negligence in the administration. We are losing projects. Why? Because there is a time frame that the administration need to work on those issues, and they don't work on those issues. And we are talking about millions. Well, it came on the newspaper, I believe, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, that they mentioned 1.6 millions. But let me tell you one thing. That's not the only grant that we lost. We lost millions. Why? Because there is a lot of negligence on the administration. It's a lot of money. And you know what? Our first commission, or first priority as a council member for each one of us is to look for the benefit of this community, to take care the taxpayers' money. That's one of the first commission. And we are talking that we lost 1.6 million that easy. You know what? That is something that, I don't know how do I call that, but that is something very serious. Very serious. Because that's not the only grant that we lost. And you know what? What does that mean? It seems to me it's bad administration. It's bad administration. And I'm very concerned. I'm disappointed, very disappointed, very disappointed on this issue. And I think we are representing the city. We need to do something serious about this issue. And sometimes we bring issues. The majority of the time we bring the same issues. And I didn't see any changes. I didn't see any changes. Why? Bad administration. Bad administration. In every department head. Every department head. And I'm very disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castro. Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado.
Well, besides the disappointment, that's obvious that all of us here are disappointed with what has occurred. But as a business owner, a self-employed business owner, when circumstances such as these occur, you look for solutions. And I'm sure that every single member on this council is ready to work also to find solutions. And it has occurred, and unfortunately, it hasn't yet been resolved, but I know that our staff is working at this point to have that resolved. But I'm ready to work hard to be able to ensure that this does not occur again in the future, and that we work together as a council, and that we be much more prepared and aware of these circumstances so it does not occur. So I'm ready to work together.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado. This was, or it is, only an informational item. And being such as that, it would have been simple enough to just acknowledge receipt of the statement furnished by the city manager. But because of the serious issue that this involved, that's why it was given the necessary course of action to permit the council members to speak their mind. The memo in itself, in some regard, is correct. One of the things that we have to remember that we have to remember that the statement lays blame to the prior finance department, to the finance department, or to the prior finance director. I will not accept this. The issue of these kind of circumstances, it is the responsibility, naturally, of the city manager, of the department head at the time, and the person that will be coming in, the staffing of those that particular department. But when we go to the blame game, then we're not talking about we. And this is where this thing is getting lost. Comments made here by the council, let it be known that the council was aware of it. It is not, no one can be blinded by that this thing was not happening. Maybe the signs that we were being given were not obvious out there, black and white. But when the prior finance director was here, she was giving in her reports all the warning signs. She was giving all her warning signs, and yet the necessary corrective actions were not being taken, and at the administrative level, and I am including the city council, and more so myself. There was a comment made somewhere that there was a cover-up. There's no cover-up. This was a situation normal gone bad. I know you didn't. This was a situation that was normal that went bad. Now, as mayor of the city of Calexico, I have always professed that, in anything, we are a team. You don't point fingers at anybody because actually you're pointing it right back at yourself. This was a situation that the council, the city manager, department head, or department heads, and the staffing in unison did not do enough. The issue here is this is something that's already happened. Now, what is necessary is to take corrective action. Former Mayor Castro and yours truly, we met with the city manager Monday the 25th, if I recall correctly, and he assured this council, or ourselves, and the rest of the council that corrective measures will be taken, in particular as soon as the finance director is in. What's important, it is important, it is serious that this thing happened, but what's more important is that it will be corrected. And I have every confidence in the world that City Manager Rodriguez, through his support system, that they will not only make this situation with this audit good, and I understand it's going to be made good maybe within a week. There is a CDBG grant that's going to be available, if I'm not mistaken, in August. So this will not be a reason why we will not get approved. I will expect, and which I mentioned to the city manager, one of the errors of our ways is that we permitted this audit to continue into the next year. I am going to be pressing between now and towards the end of the year that the city manager and his newly appointed finance director get the 2011-2012 audit completed between October and November. One of the signs that the council didn't see was that the finance department was behind on their monthly financial reports. That was already a clear sign. The other sign was all the language that was placed in those reports. Now, again, Councilman Hodge, you mentioned about if you were familiar with these timelines. It is virtually impossible for you as a member of the council to be informed and kept aware and be kept updated of everything that the City Hall has to go through. That's the responsibility of the city manager, and obviously the city manager extends that responsibility to each department head. Now, it bounces. The council expects the city manager to do his job, the city manager expects the department heads to do theirs. If they don't, then the city manager has to take action. If the city manager doesn't take action, then it comes back to the council if it needs to take action with the city manager. Now, I have, you mentioned this, Councilman Hodge, he mentioned that he was going to establish a board showing all the timelines. So anytime anyone wishes to get a view of those timelines, city manager is already going to be putting that together, which was previously shared. Yes, it's a chart, calendar, whatever he's going to do it on.
I'd like a copy.
One of the things that we have to remember, we are here together as one, and it's not to point fingers. We tripped, we have to pick up ourselves and move forward. Unfortunately, yes, the monies that were lost are not lost at taxpayers' expense. It was just a benefit that the city did not receive. It's not something that was a burden on any of our citizens. Enough said on this informational item, and I'll go with what was said earlier. I will say that in behalf of the council, an apology to the public that this did occur within the city of Calexico, and I expect that it will not reoccur. Is that correct, Mr.
Yes,
City Manager?
Mr. Mayor, and I would like to make a statement, if I may.
You may.
First of all, some corrections that I don't know where millions of dollars have been lost, and I'm certainly curious to know where those monies that have been lost, because I'm not aware of them. Number two is that the grant that we're talking about was an eligibility. So the eligibility is what we're talking about here. I want everybody to make sure they understand that the money was not granted to us. We did not receive that award. It was an eligibility. Okay, so we weren't eligible because we didn't meet that particular baseline. But having said that, I think the important thing, and I'll echo what the mayor said, is that we find a way to make sure that this doesn't happen again. We can always point fingers, and certainly I'm not about to do that. I try to stay away from that, but we need to learn from it and make sure that it doesn't happen again. The new finance director, which you approved tonight, I've had that conversation with him. I have alerted him to what the situation was and what happened, and so he is well aware coming into the organization on Monday. And so I have provided a memo to the council, and I guess I just want to read what I consider the important part of the memo, because again, we are here to find a way to make sure that we set up procedures so that does not happen again, rather than to point fingers. And as part of my memo, it says, in order to rectify this problem in the future, I am requiring all management team members, through their respective department heads, to provide any significant dates where reports, documentation, and/or information must be provided to certain levels of government. They must also identify who is responsible for proper submittal. This information will be utilized in sending the department head a reminder. We must remember that it is the responsibility of department heads to set priorities in their departments to satisfy these requirements with, of course, my backing. This procedure will assist them in meeting these requirements. I also want to share with you that I have spoken to the partner at the accounting firm, Mr. Kenneth Pun, regarding our audit, and all information is in to them, and they are doing their final review, and I would hope to be able to obtain the final audit within the next 7 days or so, so that we can present it to council and get that out of the way and immediately start on our next audit. And we have spoken about that too, so that we can move forward and make sure that we meet all the required deadlines for the coming year. Having said that, in reference to how we're going to handle it, a memo has gone out to all department heads and management team members, which states, please be advised that you are to provide me with all significant dates that require you to submit a report and/or documentation, i.e. annual audit, to any other level of government on a regular basis. All management team members are to provide said information to the department heads for transmittal to the city manager's office. This information will allow for the monitoring of important documents that need to be filed on a timely basis. And I ask that this be provided to our office by July 11th so we can put a calendar together, which we will all hopefully know now when these important dates are, so that we can assist the department heads in their different departments and remind them of those important dates that are coming up. So we are moving in a procedure to make sure this doesn't happen again. Unfortunately, it happened, but I think the best thing we can learn is to make sure that it doesn't happen again and set procedures in place so that it does not happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. And before we go to the Enterprise Fund Department, I also want to extend one other apology, and that's to former Finance Director Judith Haslam. This has been, I'm sure, tied to her, and to me, it's not warranted.
Can I ask another question?
Sure. We want to go to the next item. Go ahead.
No, for the same item.
Sí.
Yes, okay. There is a grant from FEMA. Did you know about that grant, Mr. City Manager? No, I mean, that's the reason I asked you.
Future agenda item.
Future agenda? Okay.
All right. Let's go to Enterprise Fund Departments, consent calendars, items 17 through 19. There is some speakers. Mr. Gonzalez, you want to speak about item number 17. Reminder, this is a consent calendar item under the Enterprise Fund, so you will speak on it now, before council. Not the council until after the public makes their comments. Well, you listed number 17. It's lease/purchase of truck mounted combination.
Gonzalez again. You know, my city council, when you guys were about to award the bid to a company, wasn't no bid, and he said the difference was steel and aluminum, and he said the RFPs said either or. But if you want that, he said, oh, I can do it for 30,000. It's still going to be 50,000 less. But it seems to me that's the same thing with the advanced service. I'm glad you guys passed the 11th, which was the highest award. But so I'm speaking in favor of the low bid. I think it was reasonable. It was the standards that he used were fair and validated, as opposed to Mr. Nick Servin or the administration. I'm not so sure that they gave it much thought. When the gentleman spoke, Mr. Servin could not rebuttal. That led me to believe that the standards that he used were flimsy at best. So I hope you award the contract tonight to the low bid. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Randy Blackman, item number 17.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Randy Blackman. I am the president of Haker Equipment Company, and we are the company which was the lowest bidder with our Vactor product on the purchase in question. Obviously, this is a very important decision on your part. A combination sewer cleaning truck is a critical piece of equipment for a city such as yours, for public safety, to take care of your infrastructure, and to take care of the environment. I also want to thank you for considering, obviously, the message that was delivered by my associate, Matt Woods, 2 weeks ago. Matt was unable to be here tonight because he's on a family vacation at this time. I know that the intended direction tonight, or the scheduled direction, I guess I could say, as I understand it, is to cancel the bid that exists right now, direct staff to revise the specs in some manner, and go out to rebid, go through the bid process again. We certainly appreciate that more than the initial direction that staff had in mind of purchasing a competitive truck that was, to ours anyway, that was $80,000 more expensive to the taxpayers of the city of Calexico. And we understand how municipal budgets are so very tight these days. On the other hand, I would like to suggest another alternative that I believe is available for consideration by the council tonight. And that is to purchase the Vactor product as bid by Haker Equipment Company as the lowest responsible and responsive bidder to the initial proposal. I've got a couple of major reasons, several major reasons for recommending or suggesting that you consider this option. First of all, you get the Vactor product and you get Haker Equipment Company. Vactor is simply the most desired product in the industry. It is the product of choice throughout Imperial County, throughout Southern California. All of your neighbors in Imperial County are using the Vactor product successfully, and it's really the only combination sewer cleaner truck in use in this county today. Haker Equipment Company is Vactor's oldest dealer. We've been distributing this product as well as other products for over 40 years now. We have a dedication to customer service, and we're the kind of company that you want to live with over the 15 years of its life. A second major reason that I believe you want to consider that option tonight is that tonight's decision to go forward with a purchase could possibly be the best value decision that you will have the opportunity to make. First of all, going out to rebid, the staff time to do that, your time to review the whole process, everything else that you have to go to repeat what's already been done costs the city money. There's just simply no doubt about that. Secondly, I can assure you that Haker Equipment Company has offered its fairest and most competitive price. That's what we do. And I have to assume that our competitor has done the same. And of course, in going through the same process again, if either one of us were to significantly vary the price or the conditions that we offered, I would think that would leave some significant questions in your mind about dealing with that company. You may have determined that, or deduced that we're a very determined and focused company as far as getting your business in the way of a new combination sewer cleaner. I want to assure you that that same determination and focus is what we put forward in supporting our products. And that's what you can expect. Thank you for your time tonight and for your consideration of Haker Equipment Company and Vactor Sewer Cleaners.
Thank you, Mr. Blackman. Juan Martin?
Mayor, City Council, public. Juan Martin, Plumbers Depot, Inc., representing GapVax. I wanted to touch up on a couple of notes. The City of Calexico staff has done and spent several amounts of hours researching the equipment of purchase. Purchasing a low bid doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the best value. GapVax has been doing this for over 23 years. Understanding the importance of building a reliable product GAVEX incorporates common off-the-shelf components, which will ultimately cost the city of Calexico less money to operate in the long term. This unit is an industrial heavy-duty made machine made to last 20 years and beyond. In the previous meeting, Mr. Woods from Haker stated that they're proposing an X10 steel, which is equivalent to stainless steel. We tend to disagree. We've done some research on it, and over the lifetime and experience, we found that stainless steel debris and water tanks, which is what we're proposing, will last a lifetime. And due to the current financial status of the city, we believe that purchasing a GAVEX unit would ultimately save the city money in the long term by cutting operating cost, maintenance and repairs, and downtime on this unit. I've got a little paragraph I want to read in regards to the steel. X10 steel. It is moderately priced, atmospheric corrosive, resistant as plain steel. Stainless steel offers good corrosion resistance to many chemicals, corrodants, as well as industrial atmosphere. And there's a lot more stuff that I can go through, but we've supplied the city of Calexico with some of that information. I just urge you to reconsider. If you go low bid, that's really what you're going to get. One of the things we're offering is very low maintenance costs in a unit that's meant to last 15 to 20 years, which is what the city of Calexico needs. I'll give you guys a quick example. Some of the items on the back of the unit are proprietary to Vactor. If you need to replace, for example, a water pump, you need to buy it from them. That pump is going to cost you $10,000 to $12,000, assuming something happened to it. Our pump is an off-the-shelf pump. To repair that pump will cost you anywhere between $1,200 and $1,400, which means that you can easily repair our pump 10 times before you can recover the cost of one pump on their unit. There's many other items like that. Keep that in mind. If you decide to do that, at the end of the day, you're going to end up paying a lot more money.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we'll bring it to council. City manager, well, back to council for, it's a consent calendar, items 17 through 19. Anybody wish to pull any of the items to this for discussion? Then what is the consensus of this council?
Move for its approval?
If you approve now item number 17, it is to purchase the low bid. Does it say, it says,
It's to
No.
reject.
Reject and rebid.
Reject and rebid.
I didn't see that on the
It's
agenda.
on the explanation.
Oh, an explanation.
Mhm.
So why don't you clarify your
It says
motion?
the,
Right.
I'm fine with it. It indicates that the recommendation is to reject all bids received for the lease purchase of the truck-mounted combination, whatever.
Right. It's just the way that the item itself is described does not say that.
Correct. On item, on the agenda itself?
Yes.
You're right.
Okay, so your motion is to reject all bids?
Correct, by approving the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, let's go back.
Okay.
But you only referred to item number
No,
17 right
actually, I
now.
was referring to all items on the agenda. On
So
the
is that
consent
correct,
agenda.
City Attorney? By approving the consent calendar, it is to reject all bids?
Yes, consent calendar means that you approve the recommendations in the staff reports. And on item 17, the recommendation is to reject all bids and rebid it.
And you do acknowledge that the wording is not that way as the
On
title of the agenda?
On the actual agenda, yes, there is not the recommendation, what each one has a recommendation of.
Okay, so 17 and 18 and 19, all right. There's a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado to
Second.
approve the consent calendar 17, 18, and 19, which means reject all bids on item number 17, authorize the Public Works Director City to advertise a street improvement project, and award the bid proposal from Fuel Corporation. Motion by Maritza Hurtado, second by Bill Hodge. If there's no further discussion, press your button to display your vote. My goodness. There you go. All right. You scared me there, Mr. Gonzalez. Next on the agenda are future agenda items. Mr. Moreno.
I have nothing at this time, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Castro.
Yes, I would like for the future agenda, an information about all the grants that we lost from today to a year back, all that information. I would like to have that in the agenda for the next public council meeting.
Anything else, Mr. Castro?
That's it, that's enough.
Mr. Hodge.
Yes, sir. Just want to make sure on the item about the audit that we'll get copies, right? Whatever is worked out. Is that correct, City Manager?
That's correct. We'll provide the calendar to everybody.
Okay. All right, thank you. Once again, for future agenda, I'm requesting a action plan on funding, planning, and implementing water timers in all the parks. So
You want to add that to the committee?
we can add that to the committee, but I think that that's an integral part, a vital area. Water timers. The other request is an action plan, master plan, again on Measure D funds towards how they're going to be allocated towards streets and roads, timelines, and a list of priorities and so forth. And number 4, piggybacking on Councilman Castro's comment about the grants, I'd like for us to have on the agenda the possibility of entertaining discussion and hiring a grant writer or a coordinator. Again, I'm thinking in terms of what brings in revenue. We might have to find a way to tighten our belts again and come up with money under this tight budget in economic times, but certainly it very much appears that we need someone of that capacity. And if they do it right, I believe they'll bring in more money. So I think that's a good deal. So entertain the idea of hiring a grant writer or coordinator, however the title is. Those are my requests, sir.
If I may ask for clarification, on the grants writer, are we looking for somebody to actually write grants or somebody to coordinate grants? Because we do have, that's one of the questions that is up for discussion with the new finance director. As you know, we did have some person in the finance department before, and so they were coordinating the grants. So if you're asking for a grants writer, that's one thing. If we're asking for a coordinator, that may be another thing. So I just want to make sure I understand what it is that you're looking for.
I understand they're separate. Maybe we could, if you could do a narrative, a needs assessment. I mean, in a sense of how successful have we been at this point in time of writing grants, and does it, once we look at that and evaluate it, does it lend itself to really hiring a grant writer? Certainly, I believe we need a grant coordinator.
I would tend to agree with that, and again, that's going to be one of the items that is going to be looked at with the new finance director in reference to the structuring of the department and what personnel is needed and what their classifications should be. In the past, we did have a coordinator in there, so that's going to be looked at as far as whether or not that coordinator needs to be in there. I will tell you, I think the city's been pretty successful as far as obtaining grants, but it's been through the different departments. So that's hard to gauge because it just depends a lot on the grants writer and their experience in being able to go after grants and whether they in fact know the terminology on the federal government or state government level. There's certain terminologies that you use to go after grants. In the past, what I've done is on some of the larger grants is we've actually hired people who do that for a living, who actually pinpoint, for example, the last grant that we received for the $259,000. We worked with a group that specifically does that.
So it's an on-need basis?
Correct.
That's fine. Well,
So are we looking for a coordinator?
at
Is
this point in
that-
time, then I'll push for a grant coordinator.
Okay, and if you will allow me the time to sit down with the finance director and look at the structuring of the finance department, that's probably where we will end up putting it.
Very good.
Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado?
I have no items except that I know that there's going to be one more meeting before July 31st, but to remind everyone that you do have the July 31st Town Hall meeting,
Yes.
and that'll be at 7 o'clock at the West Firehouse Station. And hopefully it's a nice, cool day.
And we don't have air conditioners there, so everybody make sure you dressed out.
That's all.
Bring some fans. We don't have air conditioning here either.
Oh, that's true. All right, well, today is the eve of the fireworks, so I should have something to give some fireworks, but I won't. Enjoy 4th of July festivities, and this meeting is adjourned.